Hey everyone, welcome back to the Movie Studio, and today I'm here to talk about The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3, Episode 9. Now, I know you might be wondering, you didn't review Episodes 6, 7, and 8, and some of you who don't even listen to the podcasts maybe think I haven't reviewed this show at all. I'm 99% sure I reviewed the first 5 episodes, and the last podcast that I've done. So heads up here, I'm not doing the weekly podcast anymore because that's too much time to prepare, record, edit, all of the above. So I'm just gonna kind of go back to just doing the videos about various topics. I'm doing The Summer I Turned Pretty in My Life with the Walter Boys. Now, I was originally gonna record a review of episodes 6, 7, and 8, but that's a lot, and I don't really have time to record, because, I started to record, and it was 15 minutes, I was still talking about episode 6, so no, I can't do this, and I didn't even think it was all that good of a review that I was doing, so I thought episodes 6, 7, and 8 were all pretty good. I think episode 7 was my favorite, and I think part of that was because that was my the day after I moved in to college, so I got to watch it with a big group of people, so I think that really enhanced the experience, where I had just watched the first 6 by myself, so, which isn't as fun, obviously. But yeah, we watched episodes 7, 8, and 9 together as a group, but yeah, I would say 5 through 8 were all really good episodes, and I think, to me, a lot like the first 2 seasons. Being in Cousins, I think, helped a lot bring a lot of that energy back. So I'm really happy that they went back there. Jeremiah was still the worst throughout most of it, but it provided good drama, the whole love triangle, because it felt like higher stakes. So episode 9, it was not my favorite episode, that's for sure. I think parts of it were necessary, and I do think it was kind of a rebuilding episode, but I feel like not a lot got rebuilt except one thing, and there's a couple hopeful things. So I guess there was stuff that happened. It just was not. I know Jenny Han's been getting a lot of criticism online for this episode. I think that's a little harsh, but then again, there's 2 episodes left. It's a little late for a filler episode, if you ask me, but there were still good parts of it, so it wasn't terrible. It just wasn't my favorite. But yeah, basically we have Belly going to Paris. She got a call that there's a spot that opened up for her for this study abroad program, so we actually do have context that she's not just going hoping there's a spot for her there, when in reality that's what does end up happening. It turns out that somebody, the assistant, got mixed up and called her thinking there was still the spot. He was looking at last month's spreadsheet. Basically, she doesn't have the spot anymore, so now she's stuck there, and Laurel pays for her to get a ticket home. So, yeah, and then Taylor Swift has a song, Here You're on Your Own, Kid, and that's, Belly kind of walking around Paris, she's kind of realizing that she's on her own, and this kind of sets up a little arc for Belly for the rest of the episode. What is she going to do? Is she going to go home and listen to Laurel, or is she going to embark on her own journey? And that takes its own set of twists and turns, because her backpack gets stolen. She's freaking out about the engagement ring, which I think if she did get Susanna's ring, the wedding ring, I would understand that more. Not that she would have, because they never got married, but to me, I guess because she wasn't the one who broke it off, maybe it makes somewhat sense that she would hold on to Jer's ring, but let's be honest, it was not a very priceless ring, to say the least. It was a tinfoil ring, if you want to call it that. So I was kind of confused as to why she cared so much about the ring, but I guess they were engaged, so it has some significant value because that was their relationship. So I guess it part of it makes sense. It's just a little ridiculous. So yeah, the backpack gets stolen, which means the ring gets stolen, all of her passport and documents and stuff too, but she doesn't really seem to care about that, just the ring. She's really conscious about the ring. But she has an air tag, so she goes around the entire city, several montages, looking for her backpack. She arrives at this club. She helps this British girl. I forget the British girl's name. I forget all their names at the end except Benito, but hopefully next episode I'll learn their names. But basically, this man's kind of being creepy and weird to this girl, and Belly kind of helps her out to get her out of that situation, and it's like a way to get into the club. So then they get into the club. Belly finds the guy with her backpack. She kicks, like, I don't remember where she kicks him at, not the ball. She, like, kicks him from, like, when he's turned around to her, and then she's able to get the backpack back. And then this group of people that she's with invites her to get drinks. It's interesting. I thought a lot of this was filler. I would have preferred if they had just immediately jumped to Belly making her new friends and getting there has to be some sort of drama, which was her not getting the spot and then her backpack getting stolen. I just think a lot of it just felt very filler and dragged out. But she spills her whole life story to this group of people, and they don't really judge her. They think that she's really cool, and they admire her, and they want her to stay in Paris. She says she has her return flight. I completely forgot about that, because I think the interesting thing here is that a lot of the scenes felt really dragged out this episode, so I forgot several details like throughout, because like a part of me was kind of dozing off because a lot of it was just kind of boring. No offense, I thought a lot of these Belly scenes were pretty boring, and maybe that's kind of the point, maybe because of how dramatic Belly's always been. We haven't really seen Belly just be boring, really. And I guess this episode was us seeing her be boring. It's just, I think it's kind of frustrating because, she could be not boring by having a different storyline, maybe just her like hanging out with these friends, getting to know them, but instead, they had her like with the air tag and chasing her backpack and all of that. So, but whatever. But one of the guys is named Benito, which if you read the book, she has a little fling with him. So I guess next episode we'll maybe see that fling. That's my guess. I think next episode is going to be Belly, probably mostly Belly in Paris, because this episode was mostly the aftermath of the wedding, which I think everyone thought it was going to be mostly Belly in Paris and then a little bit of the other plot lines, but that was not really the case. So I feel like next episode's got to be a Belly-centric episode. But I guess we could get other plot lines. We could get Conrad back in California. I would love to see Agnes one last time. Maybe even see him go back to therapy. But then again, maybe Agnes would just fill that role. I think it would be cool to get some resolution on the whole California storyline. What even happened to that lab job? Like, they never resolved that at all. I assume that fell through, considering he never went back. He stayed for the wedding, the failed wedding. But... and then, I kind of... We'll talk a little bit about the end, what else I think might be coming up next in the next 2 episodes. But, yeah, so back to Cousins. I kind of just sped through that Belly plotline, if I'm being honest. But, yeah, Jeremiah is moody. He's, like, drunk, and you can't really blame him for it. Like, you kind of understand it. Like, it's hard. He made a big decision to call off the wedding. Let's be honest, the wedding wasn't going to happen anyways, though. But he's just being mopey and moody, and that's basically his whole character. He's like not likable throughout this entire episode at all, and he's not supposed to be. I think if maybe Jer had like not done or been how he is, maybe we could sympathize with him more. But just because of how unlikable he's gotten, it's really hard to sympathize with him when he's acting like a child. And being parented by Steven and Taylor in this episode, which I thought was hilarious. But a part of me is kind of wondering, are they setting up a romance with Redbird and Jeremiah? Like, I'm genuine. I mean, a lot of people are actually genuine about that. People in my group thought maybe they're setting up something there. I don't think so. I mean, if anything, it would be more of like a kind of a joke thing at the end, but they are kind of throwing hints. Like, to me, I feel like Redbird on paper could just be as like a bad influence to him, because he's kind of like, we should hit up Lacey, which obviously isn't a good advice given the situation. But I just feel like, considering he's kissing his cheek and kind of like being really touchy with him, it's like they're setting things up, but it could just be a complete misdirect. I do think Jared will end up with someone. I think he'll get a happy ending. It's either going to be Redbird. It could possibly be Denise, considering she's single. I don't see that though. I mean, I would be really weirded out if they just randomly put those two together. Like, it's just so random, especially because, remember, she called him a Nepo baby, and yeah, that was not even in it. Like, Steven and Denise at least had some sort of enemies to lovers, playful banter. There's nothing with that with Jer and Denise. They seem like friends, and that's it. So I don't know. I think for Jer, it's either going to be like a rando girl at the end, or maybe Redbird. It's possible. I don't personally think it'll be Redbird. It would be funny though, and there's probably worse people he could end up with. I mean, they're probably they're perfect for each other if you ask me. Minus the bad advice part, it wouldn't really matter if they got together at that point. I mean, they care about each other more than Belly and Jer cared about each other. So, that's something at least. But basically everyone is dissing on Conrad this episode, which I think people have dissed enough on him. Like, it's been on and on again, whether it's Belly, Jer, Taylor, now Steven, 2 episodes in a row. Like, I think once was enough. At least Taylor kind of says it's like only 50% your fault, which, maybe someone in my group was saying, maybe like 33%, because she was thinking dividing it into thirds. I could maybe see that. He has a part to play in it, obviously. For someone saying in the group that he did nothing wrong, no, he has a part to play in it. He confessed his feelings. He set the whole thing in motion. He kind of knew what he was doing. He wanted Belly to be happy. Like, you can't fully fault him because he didn't have bad intentions. He was expressing his feelings and what he was holding on to instead of keeping them in. I get all of that, but still, he messed up, and he probably did it in the best way that he could, honestly. But still, it's still like a shitty situation. So, but I like that Taylor was starting to give Conrad the benefit of the doubt, where Steven had not gotten to that point yet, which I think might change, considering stuff I've seen, which I'll talk about in a minute. So, yeah, basically, Steven and Taylor are parenting Jeremiah throughout all of this. They're babying him. There's some funny scenes there where he literally sits in the middle between them. I thought that was funny on the couch, and they're all at like this Holiday Inn like motel, and that's like where Belly and Jer were supposed to stay for their honeymoon. I mean, they're there for like an entire day after, or like I guess at that point maybe 2 days after. So I don't really know why they're. Like, that didn't make any sense to me. Why are Steven and Taylor still there? Like, did they get it booked for, like, 2 nights or something? I mean, that's kind of messed up, actually, if they're just, hooking up, like, there where Belly and Jer were supposed to. Like, that I don't know. I think maybe they just, like, had that place and they had to, like, film, so they just used it to their advantage. I just thought it was kind of weird that they spent the entire episode in this, like, hotel-type place. Like, I mean, I get that Jer didn't want to go back there because Conrad was around, and honestly, I understand Conrad wanting to be there for Jer and that he felt like it was the right thing to do, but honestly, Conrad should have probably just gone back to California, given it a little while, and then maybe, come back and, like, after a couple of weeks, because I mean, Stephen does say you're not what he needs right now. He does have the point there. Jared definitely does not need Conrad at this moment. That's true. Jared needs space. I don't even know who Jared... Well, we kind of know who Jared needs at the end of the episode. But Conrad was definitely not what he needed. So I did agree with Steven there. But Laurel comes over to check on Jeremiah, and he is a dick to her. And, I mean, he makes somewhat reasonable points. But, like, I think Laurel went about the situation wrong. But I do think she had the right to be skeptical of the wedding. So it's like 50-50. I mean, I do understand Jer with Laurel because Laurel clearly likes Conrad more. That's just to me what we see. Maybe it's different inside her mind, but we see that she prefers Conrad way more. She has that special relationship with him. She barely talks to Jeremiah. I mean, she loves him and tolerates him, of course, but we don't really see. We've barely seen them interact over the course of the show. So, but yeah. Steven also confronts Conrad again, saying he needs space, he doesn't need you. He's really harsh to him. It's weird considering last season how close Steven and Conrad were, and even this season they've had more moments together than Jer and Steven have, so yeah, the complete 180 from Steven. Steven just is wearing rose-colored glasses clearly in this whole situation because he doesn't know what Jer really did. He's just viewing it from Conrad messing with his sister's love life. That's basically what he's viewing it from that lens, which leads to the Steven and Taylor which is like the biggest moment of this episode. And Taylor finally tells Steven about Christmas and Cabo. And Steven is pissed that Jer cheated on his sister and that he never knew about it and blah, blah, blah. And then the conversation turns to Steven and Taylor's relationship because Steven kind of brings up, they were shitting on us and saying that we're high functioning. I still think what they did was messed up at the beginning of the season. But they talk, they do kiss first, and then they stop, and then they talk, and then they kiss again. The kissing scenes were a bit long. I don't think they needed to be that long. We did get the I love you, so that was huge. So I'm glad that I'm actually really glad, and I actually kind of like that they kissed and then talked and then kissed. I mean, if they had just fucked, then I wouldn't have loved that as much, considering they needed to like talk shit out. But I think the way they went about it was really well done, and I thought their I love yous, of course, were great. It was the most vulnerable and honest they had been with each other. I remember last season, in the season 2 finale, Taylor was the one to kind of melt down and like be really vulnerable in front of him, and Steven was kind of like not really. I mean, he kind of reaffirmed her and said like, we're going to be okay, you're going to be the one breaking my heart. He kind of plays it off. And in this, Steven's actually the one a little bit more vulnerable, but then Taylor has that shift too. And then you kind of see where Taylor was really, they were kind of both vulnerable, but like not compatible in that hospital scene because she brings it up. And then it kind of shifts to they're both vulnerable and they're what each other need at that moment. So I thought that the way they went about the Staylor reunion was actually really well done, and that resolves the plot line. So now, like, we don't have to worry about Staylor throughout these next 2 episodes because we're going to assume that they're good. So we can focus on, Belly and Paris, Belly and Conrad, however that's going to go. The closure for, I assume closure for Belly and Jer of some sort will get something, and then whatever's coming next for Jer. Okay, what else? Okay. So Jer tells Taylor that Belly is his whole world and he can't function without her. So, which I don't think's healthy. Like, Belly said the same thing about how when you love someone, you'll do anything for them, blah, blah, blah. And Taylor says that's codependency. And Taylor doesn't repeat it. She doesn't have to. We all know. Like, Belly affirmed it from her side. Jer affirmed it from his side. Jer needs more than just Belly in his life. She shouldn't be his whole world. So, yeah. I thought that was really good of Jer to hear. He doesn't really listen to her advice because then Belly does call him, sorry. Belly calls him. Why does she call him? I don't know. I mean, I guess she was just checking on him. That was kind of weird to me. But Jer says, you should come back. We can go back to the way things were. And I was so confused because I'm like, you were literally the one that ended up ending things. I mean, it was a mutual somewhat decision, but Jer was the one instigating all of that and initiating the breakup or calling off the wedding. Apparently he didn't think it was a full-on breakup. He just thought they were like taking a break. That's clearly not the case. Belly assumed it was like a complete breakup, which it was what everyone else thought. We didn't think we were going to get Jer wanting her back. That just doesn't make any sense because that was the one thing that I think made Jer somewhat likable, is that he was like, you can't marry me, to erase him. And that did show a little bit of maturity on his part through everything. And now he's like, we can go back to the way things were. It stripped him of that little bit of development and made him backtrack. And that was really frustrating to me. So, and then he tells her, don't call me again. It's like, yeah. So for those Belly and Jeremiah fans who still think they're endgame, I think that scene closed the door on them completely. Like, everyone knew they were already over. Last episode was literally called Last Kiss, and the last kiss was between them. Like, I don't understand how there's any like debates or like alternate opinions to that whole thing. Like, there was their last kiss, End of story. They're not kissing it again. They're not getting back together. So it's clear to me it's either Belly and Conrad. She ends up by herself. I doubt that. Or she ends up with Benito, which I guess is somewhat of a possibility. It would be kind of funny, but a lot of fans would be pissed. It's going to be Conrad. I mean, it's like maybe like a 5% chance it doesn't happen, but I'm pretty positive it's going to be Conrad. So, a couple more scenes. Let's see. So there's a Jer and Conrad scene in the kitchen, and this was such a stupid scene. We had Jer kind of being petty. It was like, it was the same scene basically from the garden, just like less emotion. Because like there, at least Gavin, you could tell was like, you could like feel his feelings. And here he was just biting into an apple like a Disney villain. Like, I don't know, that like nothing improved there. He says like, you just get out, go back to California, never come back. Like, it's Conrad's house too, but whatever. I mean, like, I kind of wonder, Bailey does say something at the end that might be about Conrad and Jeremiah. I just, at this point, I don't see how those two can repair their relationship. It's too far gone. Like, they both have fucked up. I mean, and Jer wants nothing to do with him. He's made it very clear 2 episodes in a row. So I don't understand what's the rebuilding there that Bailey says at the end. But there's got to be something. So we get this Conrad and Adam scene, which was an interesting scene. Not gonna lie, Adam had no idea like about his feelings for Belly, no idea. So Adam says you need to give Jeremiah space, and he gave them space when Susanna died. He knew that like he made everything worse, so he just let them be. And he knew that Conrad had other people to lean on, and that Jeremiah also has people to lean on, which is kind of Adam's way of excusing the fact that he wasn't a good father, which I thought was kind of weird. But then Conrad makes Adam realize that like you're what Jer needs right now. He needs a father. And then we get Jer and Adam hugging at the end, which, you know, it sucks that this is the second time. Remember episode 5 when Adam called Jer about Conrad about the wedding, and something that Conrad says makes Adam change his mind about the wedding, and then he pays for everything. And now we have Conrad basically telling Adam that you're what Jer needs right now, and it's like, doesn't make any sense. But like, nonetheless, on paper, it was a nice moment between Jer and Adam at the end. It was much needed. We've needed it forever, so I am happy. Even though it felt like the way to get there was a little blurry, but it was still a nice moment at the end. And then Belly at the end saying rebuilding is always possible, which I think is referring to her and Conrad, maybe to her and Jer, for Conrad and Jeremiah. I mean, we saw with Steven and Taylor that rebuilding was possible. So it was a good quote, and yeah. So yeah, that was episode 9. I guess I talked for 20 minutes, so there was enough to talk about, but it wasn't my favorite episode, that's for sure. I think, again, next episode I think is going to be mostly Belly-centric. I think the Steven and Taylor is mostly done. I think we're going to get to see Steven and Taylor they're going to visit Belly in Paris. I think that's definitely happening. We saw Belly and Taylor dancing in the trailer together. I don't know if that's next episode or the finale. That might be the finale. Because it looks like a New Year, so obviously some time has skipped, where we're still in the summer, or I guess at the very beginning of the school year for the study abroad program, I guess, because that was supposed to be in the fall. We don't see anyone else like going back to school, but maybe we'll see that next episode. It's hard to say. I don't know what the timeline is on this show. I'm always so confused with all the flashbacks and time jumps and all of that, but yeah, I think next episode, Belly and her friends, we'll get to meet all of them. We'll see her and Benito have a little fling. And then I think we'll see Conrad in California a bit. We'll probably see Agnes one last time. And then maybe a little bit of Stephen and Taylor. And I don't know about Jer. I would like Jer to learn about the affair. And that has to happen. They're not going to leave the show off without him finding out, because that's so essential to the plot. I think it'll be next episode, because I think the finale is going to be mostly Belly and Conrad, and I think there'll be something with Conrad and Jer too. and then something with Adam to finally redeem himself and whatnot. So I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of ground to cover for these next 2 episodes, so I am really looking forward to them. Comment down below what you thought of episode 9. I will see you guys next week to talk about episode 10. Have a good day, guys, and bye, everyone.